are recording. Spinning but making progress. Louisville, Kentucky, just catching up on these. Awesome chat messages. We still got people coming in. Let's try this share screen again. Let's do that. Let's not share the sound this time. Okay. See, this is the technical difficulties. There we go. Just gotta have patience, right? Okay, let's get started. We have so much to cover, and I am so excited that all of you guys are here. This has been probably 6 to 8 months in the making. The 5 shades of stress, I'm so excited I can't even talk, is based on the 5 personality patterns, which is the way that I, along with the 5 stages of healing, really support women that are my clients. And so this felt like something that was really, really beneficial because I had so many moms coming up to me being like, I am showing up in this way, I'm showing up in that way, and I don't know why, and I would like to stop. And so what we're going to do first before I dive into anything else is really just introduce myself. If you don't know me or you don't know me very well, I'm Amanda Curry. I'm a traditionally trained physical therapist that has now stepped into the somatic inner child work, inner child healing, reparenting space from my own journey that started 5 years ago. And so really from that space, I have had the honor and privilege of walking at least 2, 3 dozen at this point, women to more contentment, more ease, more spaces to be authentically themselves. And so, yeah, I desire that for you all, whether you are actually my clients, ever become my client, or you just drop in with breath work, or you take advantage of these free offerings. So all of this very much resonates with myself. In fact, I'll talk a little bit in the future about some of the things that actually came up for me this week that dealt with these 5 shades of stress. So let's go ahead and get started. So these are all the details. This is the lay of the land. So we are going to, I've already done introduction, so I am, already ahead of the game. And I'm going to go ahead and mute my phone. And we're going to do a little bit of like setting up this container, because something that I have learned is that when you step into a space like this, especially with other women that you may not know, you want to feel safe. You want to feel like that this is a space that you can share. You want to feel like that you are on the same page as other people that have the same integrity and qualities, and really are here for a common purpose, and that's to do a variety of things, but really to pour into yourself. And so from there, we'll go into the 5 personality patterns, just the background of that very briefly. I'm not going to get all schooly on you. And then we're going to go into the meat of this. And so we're going to dive in. We're going to shoot through the beginning of this details, I would say, important details, but details in and of themselves pretty quickly before we go into all of the fun stuff that is going to be covered today. So setting up this container. So there's a sacred agreement that I like to have and that I have experienced in other groups. And I just want all the women here to hear this from my lips and to energetically be in agreement with this, is that in any of these spaces, whether I'm sharing, whether somebody else is sharing, that we're going to all be in agreement and in alignment, that we're going to listen with an open mind until someone that's speaking has finished their thoughts. There's so much, we as women, like, oh my gosh, we have so many thoughts, we have so many things that we want to share. And so being able to be in a space where we can slow down, take a breath, and be open enough to listen and to receive before offering. This goes without saying, but I felt like I still wanted to address it here, is that everything that is shared here is confidential. So at the end, we'll have time for like more personal shares if you don't want this to be on full blast on a recording. And that's going to be maintained in a confidential way. And anybody that receives this recording is also going to have those agreements that I'm going to ask of them through text message or through email. So, and the other really important component to this is that we all come from different backgrounds. The norms of our household is different from the norms of others. And so really having respect and empathy and understanding that everybody's of everyone's current and past lived experience. And so committing to yourself in this space. So some of you are already on your cell phones, so that's kind of hard for you to turn those off, but really being focused and really committing this time to um, pouring into yourself and limiting the distractions. Obviously, we're all women, and most of us here are moms or have other things going on tonight. And so, just as much as you can, being dialed in, but understanding that sometimes you have to have your grace that your kid is having a tantrum and you're going to need to go off camera for a minute to tend to that. So, yeah, giving you full permission to have that intuitive nudge of, is that something that I need to address, or is it something that I can stay and be in this space uninterrupted? We will be recording. So just I want to give you guys that caveat. You've all gotten the Zoom notification. And if you are, like, I want to see all of your beautiful faces. I want us to be interactive throughout. But if you are having to like go tend to a little one or go cook in the middle, if your background is super distracting, if you'll just pop your camera off just for that time, and then you can pop it back on. Some people just get super disoriented, especially if they're on a computer and there's like one bubble that's like walking around the house. So yeah. So, and also like, let's let this be fun and light. There's some of the commentary in this that it's just funny because like life is too heavy and serious already for us to continue that space in this as well. So before we get really, really into it, I want to take 2 to 3 minutes to basically just drop into our bodies to slow down. I know myself, I'm just so excited that a big deep breath and some box breathing for me is going to feel really supportive. And I know for a lot of you guys, this may be the slowest that you've been all day. And so if you feel called either having a soft gaze out in front of you or closing down your eyes, you can be sitting, you can be laying, you can be like semi reclined. And what I would love for you to do is whatever space you find yourself, uncrossing your legs, uncrossing your arms, having them either softly in your lap or next to you, or maybe on the supports of the armchair that you may be in if you're sitting up. And I just want you to get really still and really quiet for a couple seconds and just noticing, externally noticing maybe a sound in the other room or a fan that breathes on your skin. Maybe you just feel the clothes on your skin. Just allow your racing thoughts, your busy, hurried beingness to slow for just a moment and allow you to completely arrive into this space, into this time that you've carved out, that you've asked for, that you've planned for. And in that slowing, noticing your breath where it may be caught up in your chest. Seeing if you can slow it down, breathing deeply in through your nose. And then letting that go out through your mouth. We're going to do 2 rounds of box breath. So that's going to be breathing in through your nose for 4, holding your breath for 4, exhaling that out for 4, and then holding again at the bottom for 4. And just be really slow. Let yourself be guided in this to whatever capacity you have. There's no right or wrong. So we'll start now breathing in through your nose for 2, 3, 4, holding that breath at the top for 2, 3, 4, opening your mouth, exhaling that out, maybe with a sigh or with a groan, whatever feels good for you. Or maybe it's silent all the way to the bottom. And then holding at the bottom for 2, 3, 4. Inhale in, really big, biggest breath you've taken in all day to the top. Holding that breath at the top. And holding before letting that out of your mouth. Letting that land, letting yourself soften. Noticing what it feels like to melt into the chair or the bed or the floor, wherever you find yourself right now. Just extend yourself just these last couple moments, a little bit of awareness to your heart space, Maybe that feels warm and fuzzy because you've carved out this time for yourself. Maybe it's a little bit excited because you're nervous about what you're going to learn here. Maybe it feels really kind of cold and guarded just because that's what life is asking from you right now. That's what's been created in this space. And just noticing that. Taking one big deep inhale in again through your nose. Exhaling out. And then slowly just start to bring some movement to your legs, to your arms, to your shoulders. Move your neck around and slowly come back to this call. Come back to your screen. Just taking as much time as you need to. And just noticing that short little difference that happens. And you just take a little bit of time, do a little bit of breathing. Okay. I feel much better. I hope you do too. Okay. So this is the history. This is the blah, blah, blah. These are the details. So the 5 shades of stress are the mom version of the 5 personality patterns by Stephen Kessler. Incredible author, incredible psychologist. He basically adapted these from 2 other individuals. Way back when Wilhelm Reich was a student of Sigmund Freud. Most of you guys have heard about Freud, Freudianisms, all the things. Even if you're not well versed in psychology, you probably heard of the word Freud. And what I think is so funny is that Wilhelm Reich, first, these original names, I mean, not very something that you could just like publicize and weren't really good marketing terms. So like the 5 that he initially came up with were schizophrenic, passive feminine, hysterical, compulsive, misogynistic, and phallic narcissist. So very pathological in nature, in their energy and their description, very on brand for the day in the early 1900s. And then Alexander Lowen extended Reich's work, and he shifted those names a little bit, but still not much better, of calling these schizoid, oral, misogynist, psychopath, and rigid. So not much better. So Stephen Kessler has come along and he has created these 5 personality patterns based off of this original work. And so we will go to that in just a moment of what those personality patterns are. And you guys, this space, I want to be an interactive space. I want you guys to be able to pop things into the chat, questions you have, comments, anything. I will be monitoring the chat. So feel free to make this as interactive as possible. And I will be asking some more questions too to get y'all's input. So before we go to those 5 personality patterns, this is really, really important. I want you guys all to know. I actually posted a reel about this today. You are all beings. We're fluid. We're ever changing. So you are not this pattern. This pattern shows up for you in times of stress. So the Enneagram, the DISC assessment, the Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders, all of those are static typologies. You are that thing. And there's not a lot that they teach on or that they describe that there's an opportunity for change. And so what I want you to know and what you're going to learn tonight is not just these patterns, these shades of stress that come on, but that they get to be turned up or turned down, or you get to be integrated into them and use more of the gifts, or you can be all up in your stuff and the pattern can be very loud and very big. And so know that this is not a static set of you are this and you will be this at this amplitude forever. In fact, we'll talk very later on in this of how do you maintain some support of these patterns so that maybe you just notice the pattern coming on and then you're able to give yourself what you need to keep it at bay, or it just feel like a part of yourself instead of all of yourself. So what if I told you that the patterns were, they're written right here, rigid, merging, leaving, rigid. Oh, I have that twice. Hold on. Rigid, merging, leaving. Oh, enduring and aggressive. If you were to just guess, what would you think that you were? So I'll drop these in here. So rigid, merging, leaving, enduring, aggressive. Drop in the chat which one you think that you were. Gary. She already knows she's leaving. I think we've chatted about this. Katie's leaving. Okay. Anybody else? And you can even go into, okay, so I feel most this, that would be what I think my primary is. And then what would you think if you can't use a leaving strategy, if you can't use the merging pattern, that shade of stress, what would you go into next? Second leaving. Okay. Oh yeah, Katie, we've identified yours a little bit. Yeah. 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 I love these. Okay. Perfect, Lauren. Awesome. And I haven't even asked. I mean, some of you drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of or know about the 5 personality patterns, and drop a 2 if you have not heard of them or have very little experience them. So 1 is a got it. Number 2 is, yeah, I've never heard of this. What are we talking about right now? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay. And then giving you second is aggressive, internal towards. Okay. And then this is the fun part. Okay. So this, again, this is confidential. No one's going to share this. Think of people that you love. What do you think they would be? So pick one person in your life. Could be your mother-in-law, could be your husband, could be your kid. One person. What do you think their primary is, and what is their secondary? This is what gets really fun. And again, no one's going to find this out. Who's going to be first? Who's going to own up? So like my mom is, I would imagine, I'm pretty darn certain that she is leaving and aggressive. Okay, Merla, husband is probably leaving and secondary aggressive. Okay, got it, got it. So keep, even if you don't feel comfortable dropping this into the chat, keep an eye on that, because what you'll do, and I should have said this in the very beginning, there is a 5 personality patterns book. It is incredible. It is like my Bible. You guys can see that. You guys can buy this. There's like a signed copy that you can get for like $15. It is also, if you have Spotify Premium, it is free, the audiobook. So I would say each is really, really beneficial. So definitely grab yourself a copy. And what I did was, when I originally read it, I would write in, when I would read something, someone's name. So like I would write somebody's name. So it's really, really helpful as you're learning and discovering these parts of these stress responses. You're like, oh my gosh, my best friend does that. It's so annoying. Or like, oh my gosh, my coworker does that. Like, now I know why. This is what I can help her with, or this is how I can be supportive for her in that stress response. So, okay, this is all awesome information. Let's keep rolling. Okay. Other thing to know is you are not the pattern. The pattern is a part of you. Okay, we've covered that. And defining stress. So as women, as mom, like, stress is not something that happens always on the surface. You can be in a big party, and that for a lot of people is not stressful. But for some people internally, that is where the stress happens. So, and all of you probably, with this new wave of somatics and, you know, the holistic psychologists and all of that, where this is becoming more mainstream, that we know this, and then they're being exposed to these awarenesses. And so notice that when we talk about stress throughout this, we're not always talking about traumatic situations. Stress can be as much as, I'm getting 3 kids out the door in the morning and child number 2 cannot find their shoes, right? Stress can be, I have 3 deadlines and I also I've fluffed the laundry 3 days in a row, and my oldest needs something that's not, she doesn't want it to be wrinkly tomorrow. So now I have to remember that. So stress is really anything that can create tension within the body. And so what's good to know about this and helpful to know about this is, you will, as you become more aware of your body, depending on where you are in your journey with that, you will start to notice that based on your survival strategy, or based on your shade of stress, based on your personality pattern, of what your energy does when you are stressed. So you can probably imagine, like, does your any energy move away from others? Leaving. Does your energy move towards others? Merging. Does your energy want to move in and down? Enduring. Does your energy want to move up and out? Aggressive. Or does your energy want to stay tight and constricted, rigid? So just know that, like, it is a component of behavior, but it is also a component of where is the energy going in your body. And it'll be very interesting that as you leave this masterclass, when you're noticing this evening and tomorrow and next week, where is my energy? Where is my stress? Where is the sensation going? Does it feel really low into my like hips and my butt and my legs? Or does it feel up in my chest, in my head, and like up and almost out? So start to notice that. Maybe even like this week, if you've lost it already this week, where was that energy going in that time of stress? Okay. So one last thing before we dive in is that it is good to remember that our natural state as people, as women, as moms, is actually relaxed, present, and content. I know you guys probably think that's freaking hilarious, but it is, and it is possible. But what we have to do is get to the root of our stress response. And we get to know more about what is creating an altered sense of what stress is and creating an alteration from relaxed, present, and content. And so really in times of stress, all that is a lot of energy hitting our system. And I talk about energy in exchange with emotions and feelings. So all of that, I will interchange those words. So if energy feels weird to you and esoteric, then you can switch it with feelings or emotions. So when too much emotion hits our system, we go into overwhelm. So if we feel safe, or if our system feels safe, then we're able to move that energy and soothe ourselves so that we can get back to that homeostasis. We don't go into like a hypoarousal of like collapse and defeat and woe is me. And we don't go into hyperarousal of that fighting. So the biggest thing to also notice is that these support strategies, and this is why I'm saying this so much, these strategies that you are utilizing, it is to buffer the energy coming into your system so that they don't feel so overwhelming. So you're wanting to rage clean your house, which is like one of the biggest things that I saw on the intake form of how you handle stress. That focusing on something outward and fixing and organizing is a buffering mechanism to your system for whatever stress is incoming. Is this making sense? Is this tracking? This feels resonant for y'all? And the biggest thing is that you have only the illusion of safety when you are cleaning and you are organizing and you are adjusting and you are shifting. It's not that you're actually more safe. Your body is just being tricked into that it is safe. Okay. So let's get into it. We are like right on time. I love that efficiency. You'll have to also guess what my pattern is later. Okay, so we are going to do the patterns in a particular order, and we're going to do them in the order of wounding. So in Stephen Kessler's book, he talks about where the potential wounding can occur. And so we're going to do it from like pre-birth in utero all the way up to 5-6 years old. So the first one is the pattern of leaving. So this wound typically can occur in utero to 6 months. So it may be that in utero there was like a hostile energy or presence early on. So again, I'm throwing out these examples. This does not necessarily mean that this is resonant for you. And you may not even know this information. Like your mom may have never shared that, like, she was terrified to have you and she was really worried about finances. And so it wasn't that you weren't wanted, but there was a lot of like hostility or worry present when you were within her. Okay. So hostility and presence could be like you were not expected. It could be, or unplanned. You could be one that had a mother that was under some sort of trauma or stress herself. And so noticing that potentially in your own story, and again, going to the energy of it is moving away from others. So leaving your energy in stress moves away, out of the body into the clouds. So we're going to go through each of these pattern slides are going to look the same. So we're going to go into the wounding, we're going to go into the energy, the gifts, the shadow, the needs, and then the next slide will be more of like real life. What does this look like? Very similar to like the shadow, but goes a little bit more in depth. Okay. And so as I'm saying these things, as you're reading these things on there, I would love for you guys to share in the chat, like, oh, I totally feel that way. Like I'm highly intuitive and feel like I'm always in the clouds. Or if we get into another pattern, you're like, oh my gosh, I literally did that today. I had no idea that that was, possibly part of a stress pattern. Go ahead and share that in the chat. So your gifts are that you are aware of other people's energy, highly intuitive, highly creative. Some of these people will have gifts of like having visions or like clear audience, clear sentience. They're just like the dreamers, the creatives. They can be really super sensitive to energy as well. So like getting into a space and just feeling like, ooh, like there's like a vibe here. Like, what is that? A lot of people that run the leaving pattern will have that as a gift. Their shadow is that they're afraid that they're going to go crazy or they're going to fall apart. Essentially, when this wounding occurred, they didn't feel like that they were welcome into this world. So when they arrived, when their essence and their presence came online, as you were birthed from your mom's birth canal, or from a C-section, you just did not feel safe in this world. And so there's always a fear there, and there's a lack of safety just anywhere in life. Like it just feels like I shouldn't be here. This is really unsafe. And so what do you need? This is what a lot of you guys were asking, like, how do I support myself? What do I do? Like, how do I limit the things that are showing up from happening again? And so it may not be in these needs, it may not be, oh, you need to take 5 minutes and take 5 breaths before you pop off at your kid. It may be that your hygiene, emotionally, energetically, needs to contain something around feeling safe in your body, reminding yourself that sensations and stress are safe. So maybe it's like a self-touch practice. Maybe it's like, oh, I need to feel that like this, my hands touching me feel safe. Again, this references like your core and your grounding. So maybe it was that what you need personally is to get into your feet into the ground every day. Or when you wake up in the morning, I'm one of those psychopaths that wear socks to bed. So if you were a leaving pattern and you wore socks to bed, maybe what you need and what would be supportive for you is to take those socks off and really feel the ground under your feet when you get up. But really just taking up space within your body, knowing that like this, meat sack that you're wearing, it gets to be here and it's safe to be here. And a lot of times too, especially with the sensitivity to other energies or other emotions from other people, is that you get to start to differentiate what is other people's energy versus what is my energy. Because a lot of people that run the leaving pattern, they're like, is that mine energy? I don't know. Am I feeling that? Am I scared or are they scared? Am I feeling their scaredness? Am I feeling their anxiety? Am I feeling their anxiousness? And so it's determining that through energetic practices, through somatic healing practices, all of that. I'm just checking out the chat. Yeah, Carrie, I was given up for adoption and no, it was a bad environment for me in utero. So yes, that tracks. You shared earlier that you very much identify with and resonate with the leading pattern. And so something for you again is, where can I continue to remind myself that I'm safe in my body? And also, what do I need from others? So I will always in these slides have a little space here. And then this underneath is, what do you need from others? So you need someone that is soft, that's gentle with you, that has a warm voice, that's slow. So when you are in stress, if you yourself are run that leaving pattern and you have a partner, you can share with them, hey, when I'm really stressed, what I need you to come and I need you to put your hands on my shoulders really gently. I need you to look me in the eyes and I need you to tell me to take 3 breaths, or that we're going to take 3 breaths together. So you see how that invites in that like, ooh, it's like a baby. It's like, you're safe. You're okay. Like this is good. We're good. Right. And so how can you, embracing this inner child of, she feels scared. She doesn't want to be here. And so what you need is that softness and that gentleness and that warmth. And notice if there are certain relationships where you're not getting that, how can you, in a really grounded way, share that that's what you need? So Marilla definitely describes you so well. It's creepy. It's not creepy. It's new. uh, awesome. I love that you lay down on the ground. That's amazing. Yes, I love this. Yes, that's exactly what you need and that you intuitively know that you need. And I love that you're honoring yourself for that or in that. Okay, so this is what's wild, guys. Like, please get this is wild. Is Stephen Kessler went so far into going into the body types. So this is each of the patterns. You will notice the body type. This is the leaving pattern. So typically they're tall, they can be very lanky. They it's not that they don't feel like that they have a lot of substance to them, but they're willowy. They're like, just ethereal kind of thing. So, and typically speaking, these body representations are usually spot on. So I'm excited to see if you guys resonate with these and if they track for you as well. So, okay, let's talk about real life leaving. So those that run the leaving pattern, they can also be very forgetful, aloof. They can present, or they're not present energetically. They're like daydreaming. Sometimes people think that they're like flighty or flaky, but they just don't know where they are. They're just kind of like existing. They can sometimes get off track or they're hyper focused as a way to escape. So like daydreaming. These are often individuals that will have some sort of addicting, drinking addiction is what I meant. Because that's their form of leaving. So shopping, drinking, eating, any of that like can be a way to dissociate. Um, they also like during a time of stress will limit the direct contact from the situation or a strong energy. So if you're fighting with your partner, there will be like a recoil, like you'll want to go out and you'll try to limit like your contact from that individual that you're having a confrontation with, or just that maybe you're even having a fight with. These people often will like deny reality. They just live in kind of like a little bit of a fantasy land, likes to escape or withdraw. So this is not always physically leaving. This can be just energetically or emotionally, I am checked out. I'm done. They also can just feel really fragile. That goes back to like feeling like that they're going to break. And they just lack a sense of self. So this is something where like their core, their substance within is lacking. It just feels very flowy and billowy. And then again, they can freeze, dissociate, or fragment under stress. So anybody coming to some realizations of anybody in their life that this goes with, and kind of like, oh, I have no idea. Like, why is she so like that? Like, does she just like live in the clouds all the time? Like, why does it always take her so long to do X, Y, and Z? Maybe it's something to do with this. And so this is not just about how you empower and equip yourself to address your shades of stress, but also how can you be a light and a gift to others? So let's keep going. Next is merging. So merging will come online from a wound that is 6 months to 2 years. So this is something where the parents may have been absent, ill, or depriving. So there's I can't get enough. So maybe there's a situation of multiples, or two children that are really close to age in each other, or a mom that has lots of children that couldn't give a lot of attention to you as the baby. It could be that they were physically absent. If this parent maybe had an addiction where they were absent, energetically, or maybe they were ill, or they just emotionally were depriving. So maybe they were emotionally unavailable for whatever reason. These are people that have a pattern where it's grabby outward towards people energy. So it's like me, like come pick me up. Please. That's what I always think of. They can also have a little bit of like leaky energy. So like you can just almost, if you're around them and they're in pattern, you almost feel like when you leave, you're like, oh my God, like good Lord, like all of their emotions are just like leaky all over me. The gifts of these individuals though are that they are the nurturers, the lovers, the healers. They seek connection. They're people that are like always getting people together. They're very caring. They're very generous. Like they are just kind of like just those selfless women, those selfless people that are just like, oh, whatever you need. Like like they're just the connectors of that. So a lot of coaches, a lot of healers, a lot of people in the space of wellness and like psychosocial support can sometimes be ones that run the merging pattern, but they're in their gifts a lot of the time. So the shadow is that you sacrifice your own needs. You put everyone else before you, and you feel underappreciated for all that you do. You can also be clingy to your kids, and your happiness is based on their happiness, and their happiness is based on yours, vice versa. You can also feel really dependent on others' happiness to fill your needs and your happiness. And you often, when you're not getting that, you feel empty and needy. And so basically, you're just trying to be filled up. You're trying to fill a hole that you just didn't get as a child. And so there's that energetic feeling of I'm never full, or that I need to be filled up by others. Your needs are to set boundaries with yourself and with others. So part of your shade of stress may come online because you have said yes to everyone. You are doing everything for everyone before yourself. And you are one also that can, when you go into collapse, you can be helpless. Oh, someone help me. Somebody do it for me. So there's like a give, give, give until there's, oh my gosh, why isn't anyone helping me? I'm never helped. No one loves me. I do so much for you guys, and you guys don't do anything for me. And so there's this like give and take, which we'll get into with like the real life example. And the thing is that you, as one that runs this pattern, get to establish is to reference your own core. So a lot of those that run the merging pattern may self-identify with not only the needs of others, but the expectations and the like the rules of others. So like, ooh, should I go and buy that dress because everybody else is getting that Lululemon casual dress? Or like, do I really want to go on this vacation, or is everybody else going on this vacation? And so I want to go on this vacation too. So referencing your core, your intuitive knowing is going to be something that you need and is so pivotal so that you can say, no, I don't resonate with helping out in that way at school. I really want to help with this fundraiser, but I don't actually want to do carpool duty or whatever it is. And things that you need from others that fill you up is personal compliments. When people speak to your heart, when they tell you, oh my gosh, I absolutely loved what you did or how you did this thing, like I can't like you're just so incredible. That is what fills you up. So you may be a words of affirmation, like a more of a physical touch person. You just want to be next to your children, and you just want to be next to your partner, and you just want to feel really like heart to heart connected, right? Got it. This is me trying to be everything for everyone except for my, yeah. And so what I want to also share with you guys is, as moms, there is a sense of like merging sometimes comes on as maybe even a tertiary pattern, because as moms, we have been made to believe that we have to do it all. And there is a part of our kids' lives where we are doing some of it. We are doing a lot of it. But noticing like when you feel like that you have to do it all to maintain that connection with your kids, or you have to do it all so that you maintain that connection with your husband, noticing, or your partner, because that's where the pattern is coming online. And you may not even notice it in times of stress. It may be your way of like maintaining this homeostasis of perceived safety. Okay, so let's go into the like real life. Let's talk about merging. Let's talk about merging. Okay, so body type. These the energy is going out back and forth. Usually like more, not necessarily more full, but more curvy. There's more substance to them. Um, Unlike the leaving, those that run the leaving pattern, that is more of the, um, lanky and billowy type. So, oh, Merla, this is your mother-in-law. Okay. So notice what you can do when she's in pattern and she's wanting to connect with you. That's her needing to feel connection and safety. So you can notice it. That's not necessarily that you have to lean into her pattern or that you have to appease her pattern. What you can do is one of the things that I said in the previous slide of like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for offering to, say when you have your little one, thank you so much for offering like to watch, let's just say her name's June. To watch June. Like I just cannot get over how available you always are. And I just love that like you have this huge heart for your granddaughter. But actually what's going to work best for us is for us to take the baby with us to this event. Like again, love you, love that you're doing this. Like, I would love to use your help next Sunday. Is that okay with you? So you get to work with the gifts of their pattern and the needs of their pattern to still maintain that connection and to maintain more just continuity within your relationship. So I digress. Okay, so talking about real life merging. So you're always thinking of your kids and your partner first. We already kind of covered that. The one thing that you also do is you don't want things to get hard for your partner or your kids, because when it's hard for them and they're in a bad mood, you're in a bad mood. So you want to constantly fix things for them, and you're not letting life be messy. You're not letting them mess up, because if they mess up, then they're going to be mad at me that it didn't get done. That's the merging pattern. That's the lack of safety, of the fear of disconnection. So sometimes in times of stress, you will collapse and you may want other people to do it for you. Like, I can't do it. I'm so helpless. Like, please help me. Um, and sometimes at a baseline, you feel like, I can't do this alone. Like, I want to connect with you. We have to do the yard work together. We have to do the grocery shopping together. We have to do the this and that together. And this person ultimately fears abandonment and rejection because what they didn't get from mom early on. And again, wants others people to be around, wants people to do it with them. And they can tend to this leaky energy. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, is they can emotionally dump on other people. So like, when you find somebody that's like, why are they telling me their life story? Why are they telling me all this drama? Sometimes it's just they want to connect. They have not been heard. They have not been filled up. This is what they need. They also love people to death. So like, the horse is dead. The person, like, the ultimate kill them with kindness, but like, no one needs your kindness right now, right? Like, just, you just look at them and you're like, wow, like, okay, you are loving them to your own fault, really. So they can often be dramatic. Again, I said before, they reference other. They can be manipulative and play the victim. That's like, oh, I can't do it myself. Like, I'm always doing things for you guys, and you guys don't even do things for me. And it's this really, it can be this manipulative form of like giving to get. So like, I'm going to be really helpful with the chores, but then what I expect from you is for you to want to like come and do this with me. And when I don't get that, then I'm resentful because you're not doing what I want you to do. So again, overall, just wants to be and maintain connection with the heart space, and wants to a lot of times like verbally express. So this goes along with kind of the emotional dumping, or like wanting to really explain like why they're doing the thing that they're doing, or why they need the thing that they need. Cool. Anybody vibing with the merging pattern? Okay. Enduring. So this is age 2-ish. So anywhere from 1 to 3, usually around 2. And this will probably make sense for a lot of the moms out there. So this is the age that what happens? The terrible twos, or I think the three-nagers are like, I think that's really what I think we've shifted. And so this is where you as a child may have been growing up and you are establishing this will. You are creating this autonomy of like, no, I will not do that. No, I will not put on my shoes. No, I do not want those green beans. And so what happened was you were punished for that willfulness. That developmentally appropriate pushback was squashed on. To a point where the child learned that I'm just going to endure this. I'm just going to sit in this. I'm just going to deal with it. And so their energy is what? It's a holding down energy. It's stuck. It's heavy. And the gifts of this is that those people can hold a lot of energy from people's emotions, their communication, their needs. Like, they can anything. They're just sitting there. They're like, yeah, what else? Yeah, cool. Yeah. Okay. Got that too. So they can tolerate a lot. A lot of the individuals that run an enduring pattern, they may be in a terrible relationship for a really long time because they've just literally tuned it off, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just existing. I'm just apathetic to the situation. Um, Other gifts though is that they're really grounded. So like, they're ones that, if you are somebody that is in partnership with this, my husband David runs an enduring pattern. Like, he can hold anything. So like, he feels really grounded and he feels really safe as an individual. Like, he feels stable. They're also very loyal. They're low maintenance partners because they don't have a lot of needs. That's what we're going to get into, the needs and the shadow of that in just a minute. But they're just steady and they're patient. So they make the best partners, I think, if we're going to pick a pattern. It's just my personal opinion. but they hold a lot. And it's not necessarily that this happens more with men or that it happens more with women, because it can happen with women as well. But yeah, they tend to be ones that can be really compliant partners. So their shadow is that they can't connect to their own needs, because what are they doing all the time? Holding everyone else's stuff. So when I were to ask David, well, what do you think about that? Well, I don't really know. Like, I don't, I literally don't know. And for a while, we think like our men or our partners are like, oh yeah, like they just say that. They're literally thinking of nothing. Well, sometimes they are thinking of nothing, or it takes them a while to come online with what is actually present within their system. So again, the opposite of the gifts is that they let their partners and their kids emotionally dump on them, and they just hold their stuff. They don't necessarily call them on it. They don't necessarily say, hey, this is a boundary. I'm really tired of hearing this. They just let it happen. And they tend to hide, and they neglect their own needs, their own intuition, their own what lights them up, because there is this shadow of shame and humiliation. They feel shameful and humiliated because they exerted their will and their parents said, absolutely not, that's wrong. Shame on you. I can't believe that you threw that on the ground. Shame on you. So it comes from that humiliation. And so a lot of times what they do is they self-sabotage, and they're resistant to change. So they want to complain about certain things. They're unhappy about certain things. They feel stuck and heavy, but they won't necessarily do anything. And so what they need for themselves is they need to remind themselves of their own needs, or just simply discover their own needs. And going through a practice or getting support, whether it's traditional therapy or anything non-traditional, of letting go of this shame and humiliation that they hold in a variety of places in their life, not just within their partnerships, but it could be work, it could be how they look, it could be anything. And a lot of them need, if you're strong and stable, like a mountain or like a rock, what do you need? You need movement to break that up. You need action to get into action and do something about what you are feeling stuck in. Again, this is a pattern too, where they have to start to determine what is me and what is not me. Now that I'm no longer being dumped on, or I'm asking for emotions to not just be piled onto me, then what is me? What is there for me to claim and to fill up that space? So maybe it's that I've never really been or able to let myself express or feel anger or be present to anger. So then letting themselves fill themselves up with that, anger of like, oh, I'm really mad about this at work. Letting themselves take up that space is really important to them. And for others, they need safety to express. So they need to know that they can express with you, whatever it is that they can express, and that you will just sit there and you will listen, and that you don't necessarily are going to offer anything. You're just offering a safe space for them to be seen. And this goes into like offering something. So again, if you are, as a child, being said, no, do this instead, wear this, you're absolutely going to eat your green beans. They don't respond well to, you're going to do this. We're going to go to my mom's, and then we're going to spend 2 days there, and then we're going to do this. What is supportive for them is offering instead of force. That last phrase, or that last little statement there, is like, hey, what would it feel like for you to spend 3 days at my parents' house and then 2 days at your parents' house? Does that feel good? Do you want to think about that? And also, same thing, instead of plans or suggestions, the compliments. Hey, thanks for taking out the trash. That was really helpful for me. So they don't need like the merging individuals to like hold them and like lock eyes with them and say, oh my God, you're like the best thing ever because you took the kids to school every day this week. Like, I don't know where I would be without you. Like, they don't need that, right? They don't, they don't need that. That doesn't do anything for them. It just like melts off. What they need is just a compliment at the edge, so that they can really get into a space of just digesting that, having time to digest that. So where are we at with things? Everybody's, oh, Carrie, enduring sounds like my ex, but he would never acknowledge it. See? And it's probably, hold on, I'm gonna turn on the light right in front of me. It's probably because he may not be aware of that. Like his own needs, his own how he's presenting in the world, they're just not aware of that. And that's okay. And we get to gently offer reflections with their permission. Okay. Let's keep going. So enduring. So the energy is in, it's stuck down, it's compacted. So these individuals may be like more muscular. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're overweight, but they can be if you're enduring something. If you're just like packing it in and shedding layers to protect yourself from something. But yeah, their energy is down and they're just like a boulder, like a rock. So real life, what you would see is a resistance to any form of change or help to what they need. So like, man, like we've been dealing for this for like 5 years with my manager. Like he's just so annoying. He never does his job. I don't even understand why like it's been like this for this long, but there's no action to change. There's no, hey, maybe I'll start looking for another job, or hey, maybe I'll say something to this person. There's just a like, I'm just going to stuff it down and I'm just going to be with it. I'm just going to stuff it down. There's a lot of like, it's fine, or I don't know, or that's okay, when there isn't, because there's not, that doesn't actually fine okay, because they're not really referencing themselves. They stuff down their needs. They don't express because they just don't know what's present. They may have passive aggressive speech. So their form of aggression may come out as like, well, I don't know why we have to do that, instead of being like, I don't really want to do that. They sometimes will move slowly, again, complaining, but not doing anything about it. They can be apathetic. Sometimes they can feel like, and they can think like, I have to hold a doll. I'm feeling really heavy and stuck. And again, the last one, feeling stuck in life, but afraid to do anything about it, because action would mean the potential for humiliation and shame. Cool. Okay. We're getting into aggressive. We're getting into spicy. Okay. So this wounding occurred 2.5 years to 4 years. These individuals that run this pattern, they just needed to survive. Instead of leaving or enduring, they fought to survive. They used their willpower, their strength. I'm all alone. This is up to me. Like, let's do this. And so their energy is holding and then pushing up and out. Not the out like the ethereal, but like a fireball, like up and out. And the gifts of this pattern is that they are very impressionable and lively. They can hold people's attention. They're very capable. They're courageous. They're ones that are like, you can do that. Like, absolutely, go after it. You better have that conversation with that girl. They can be like intense like that. So you guys may be noticing maybe someone's primary or secondary pattern. They're also like athletically built, kind of block-like. Sometimes they can have a strong sex drive, humorous, and they're, again, in their gifts, they're a fierce advocate. The shadow is that they reject their needs, because if I have a need, someone isn't going to fill it. I'm going to have to do it alone. That's one more thing to do. They have a core. They're very established with what's going on within, but they guard it and nobody can get to it. And it's their way or no way, and they're going to manipulate you to get their way. This is a situation where potentially they did have caring parents, but their parents there was not enough love, but so much power. So much control, so much, you will do this, like authoritarian, like just kind of squashing any sort of substance to the child. And they believe that that's how they carry out love in the world, and that's how they carry out safety in the world. So they don't trust others. They can be a loner, but oftentimes they will be kind of like, they can be a loner status, kind of lone wolf, but then they can also be really like a shapeshifter, and in certain situations be really lively in the life of the party. They often feel really entitled, and they're afraid of weakness, or they are afraid of weakness, but their afraidness comes out in disgust and like entitlement, and they can have a superiority complex. So what are their needs? Really, really important. They feel their fear. They fear it, or they feel it at a level that is so overwhelming that then they have to overpower it and everything else around them. And they're fearful of feeling any sort of like, it's safe for them to feel the fear. That's what they need to learn. That's what they get to learn, but that it's not something that needs to motivate them, that they just get to feel it just to feel it. And that they get to trust the opposite of fear, which is just love. And they get to receive love. So a lot of times for those that run the aggressive pattern, there's also something underneath the anger. And so they get to notice, like, why is it always easier to just throw fireballs? Oh, well, because what I'm really covering up is when I'm disappointed. And so instead of naming it and feeling it as disappointment, you are projecting it out into anger. And so what they need to know from other individuals is they need to know that they're not bad and that they're not too much and that you can hold them. So if you have someone that runs a primary or a secondary pattern, you in your core, they need to feel you that you are serious about what you are saying right now. I can hold you. There is all love here, but this is my boundary. That's what they need if you are wanting to meet them in a need that you have. Okay. And then real talk. So authority figures in parenting, they may be really, really authoritative, but they also reject external authority figures. So the rules don't apply to them. And in parenting, they don't just parent to parent, they parent to have this place of like, I am powerful over you. And I'm going to make it a point that you know that I'm in charge and that my way always goes. And so they usually don't trust anybody to get things done or not get things done in a way that they would find satisfactory. And they overall will just lack vulnerability with their kids, with their, not their pattern, their partner. I read over this like 3 times, guys. So the fact that I'm finding 3 typos with this is wild. Again, they can be controlling and demanding, both with their partners in their workspace, with their kids. But they also, what's interesting is they will push people away. They will be too much. They will be controlling and demanding so that others will not gravitate toward them and will not try to connect with them, thus recreating this abandonment wound that they fear. And so when things escalate, who throws fireballs? Who just like lets it rip? Like just all and out, like everybody, we're burning it all down. That is the aggressive pattern. And they can tend to bully or intimidate people when they aren't getting their way, but they feel like that they can overpower the situation to get their way. So questioning, like, are you sure? Why don't you do this? Like, they won't let it go. Nothing is ever good enough, and they never hardly ask for help. So you can see from this pattern, the energy is up through their core and out. So they'll have like broader shoulders. Again, that more athletic, muscular build. They'll have like a triangle. Oh, that's not a triangle. Triangle, like so a point at their pelvis, and then the triangle will go up to their shoulders. Okay, last pattern, rigid. Just going to check out this chat here. Make sure we're good. Okay. So rigid pattern, the oldest of the patterns, 3 years to 5 years. So this is a rule follower parent. This is where you were taught you cannot trust yourself. I will tell you what to do. Everybody else outside of here will tell you what to do. You don't need to think about anything. You're just going to refer to what these rules are, and they're never going to change. So you might as well just get used to them. So their energy is holding in, squeezing, constricted energy, like, oh, okay, I got to get this right. I got to do this thing. Yeah, okay, what's next? Very like guarded, very robotic. The gifts are that they have a huge attention to detail because they know all the things. They're prepared for anything, super efficient, very logical, and they're a rule follower, usually a very hardworking, efficient person, and they're organized. So again, this is one of those patterns where sometimes this will come online or it'll feel like that you have this pattern based on being a parent, because sometimes you are required as a parent to sometimes have these gifts that come online so that you can just like, exist and your kids can exist. So the shadow of this is that there is no changing or ability to change plans. And if there is, there's going to be reactivity. You're usually super hyper independent. I've got to do it myself, kind of similar to the pattern of the aggressive pattern. But this is, I don't necessarily get aggressive with it. I'm just going to do it all myself. I'm just going to take and do and constrict. So you're always going, always doing. It's very hard. This pattern is connected or cut off energetically from your neck and then from like mid belly. And so your neck, it's hard for you to connect to your heart. They're often impersonal, and they can sometimes be a little bit demeaning or preachy. And because it's like, I know all the things and I know best. So like, this is what I'm imposing on you. I'm gifting you with my knowledge. And there's always someone to blame. So if something does go wrong, it's not me. It's not me. I did it right. I followed the rules, not me. Who is it? And so oftentimes, again, too, going back to the heart space that's cut off, is that they feel numb inside. It's just kind of this like a blah. And they blame if there's not someone to blame, or they did mess up and make a mistake, then the blame is very internalized into a very loud inner critic. So they, again, overall feel fear, disorder, and chaos. And so it's like everything has to be perfect, everything has to be laid out, everything has to be organized. Um, so their needs are that they need to know that it's safe to be in flow, to be messy, for things to get to be right or wrong, like living in the gray. And also focusing on their internal feelings and their sensation. So accessing your heart, accessing your gut, and feeling and acting through that place, even though it may not feel like the right thing to do or the logical thing to do or what's expected of them. And so just again, to value your own experience. They need to be complemented specifically, factually, with examples, through words. So a rigid individual or those that run the rigid pattern won't necessarily want a hug. They will want you to just like name off how well they did something. Okay. So, real life rigidity. It's hard to connect with your partner or your kids on like an emotional level at times. You feel like everybody else is crying in the room about something, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's okay. It's sad, but like, it's not a huge deal, right? They're often cold and all business-like. There's always work to be done, and we're not going to play or have fun until all of that work is done. So noticing that within your own household. Sometimes if there's plans and it's shifted, then you can get upset and you can notice yourself getting really, really triggered by that. Again, also, there's always work to do. There's not a place for an unclean house to be tolerated. And so again, you love a good planner, an organizer, a syllabus, and your kids' emotional ability can sometimes be annoying and silly. You're like, why are you operating in this way? Like almost treating them like little machines. Like, I gave you food, you have your favorite toy, you took a good nap. Why are you acting this way? So like variability is sometimes really hard for those that run the rigid pattern to conceptualize. They can be sarcastic in times of seriousness because they don't want to access their heart. That's a protector. They can blame others when they don't go right, or when things don't go right, or they can be very self-deprecating just so that someone else is not going to say that about them first. They're gonna make fun of themselves before someone else can point out what they did. During arguments, sharp, piercing words. So like you are going to nitpick everything that they did wrong in a situation and how they didn't do exactly how you asked them to do something. So again, focusing on the specifics, on the right and wrongs, and on who is not following them. And very performance based, and there's this transactional love. So not like merging where you're like giving to get, but like, I did this for you. Okay, cool. Now you're going to do this. So like, I'm indebted to you, kind of thing. It's not really to maintain connection. It's just so like, hey, are we equal? Are we even? And they often will focus on like the good performance as they are, or their performance as a parent or a partner. So like, how good are my lunches? How good are the kids' clothes? Like, is the homework perfect? Like, are our vacations and our gifts like optimal and acceptable? So we're basically coming to the end of those patterns. I want to stop sharing for just a hot minute and check in with you guys of, now that you have more of the context, more of the awareness, would you change what your primary and your secondary pattern are? Would you shift them at all? Or you're like, nope, this is even more reinforced what I feel like my primary and secondary patterns are? Oh, Lord, you're like, found it, rigid. Got it. Oh gosh, I love that. Yeah, so just drop that in the chat. Um, if you feel like that you further resonate, this is totally you. Um, or you're like, oh, I feel like I have a totally different awareness. I've kind of shifted what I thought originally. Without question, merging. Very good. Okay. Okay, Carrie, perfect. Mine are different. Okay. And this is the other thing too to know is that you guys, so what my primary is, y'all guess. What's my primary? What's my primary and my secondary? I'm not going to be offended by this because I know I'm in my gifts. Carrie's daughter's definitely rigid. Can see how they were rigid when they're young. Okay. Leaving in rigid, Katie. Amy enduring. Okay. So Um, so yeah, so that's the thing too. A couple things to note before we dive into mom rage, which I wanted to highlight here. Um, so when I first started my journey, I think that I tolerated a lot of what was internal to me. And there were some components of like, this is too hard, so I'm going to leave. So you may see initially just from responses that like, oh, I think I'm that. But once you get like the full context of what the pattern is and what it needs, usually what you have right now is more spot on because you have more of the context. So, okay. Yes, my primary is rigid and my secondary is actually aggressive. Um, yes, we'll just leave it at that. So, what I wanted to cover next was the mom rage because a lot of people will automatically, if they have more of a flavor of like, I get mad all the time and I'm yelling all the time. That's not always the aggressive pattern. Each of your patterns, I won't list them, each of the patterns, they have a way that anger is expressed. And so I thought that it would be really helpful to break this down of like, when you are angry, what does that look like for you? And now you know why it's occurring, what the need is, and can now reverse engineer how to not be in that space, maybe as quickly or as often. Cool. Mom rage it is. Let's do a little screen sharing again. And again, if you guys have any questions, this is the time to ask them. So just pop them in the chat as I get this back up and running. Okay, so we're here, we're sharing, we're moving this. Where did present. It's right in front of me. Okay, so let's talk about mom rage when when the pattern is full bore and you're just like, what the hell just happened, right? Okay, so I've got these listed here: leaving, merging, enduring, aggressive, rigid. Okay, so when you are in full mom rage as a leaving pattern, you actually will be with white hot rage. So this is like, I'm seeing red, I'm seeing white. Like, I don't even know what's up or down, but I am like screaming and I am dissociated and all of my energy is up here. Okay. And it's usually about unmet needs. So your energy is ungrounded. It's all over the place. It's not targeted. It's literally just like out in the ethers, but it's taken up a lot of space out there. If you are expressing this mom rage or just this straight rage to someone, it can be sometimes confusing for them to understand, why are they so angry? Because what you're screaming and yelling and how you're acting in your mom rage isn't very cohesive. Again, it's fragmented. It's part of the leaving pattern. It doesn't have a lot of substance to it. And so it doesn't feel like a cohesive argument. So if you feel like, I can't think of what I want to say, but all I'm doing is screaming and projecting whatever it is onto everybody around me in that manner, that is what it looks like to really be at the max point of your capacity, and to express that in the form of anger. So merging, it's aimed at the connection. So like, it's very blamey and shamey. Like, I can't believe that you would ever think that I would want that gift, because like, that's absolutely not anything that I've ever said that you would want to do. Like, how could you think that that would be something that I would like? Like, very blamey, very shamey, very leaky. How could you do this to me? I've done so much for you. I always pick the best gifts for you. And it's still worried about the connection. So it may not be big energy. It's very like, energy. Like, I can't, like, it's just so, it's just so terrible. And so it's like, it's here, but it's not like, volcanic, right? So, shifting to the enduring pattern. Those that run the enduring pattern, their anger is often inward. Remember the shame, the humiliation, the blame. So they're going to point that anger inward until they just can't hold it anymore. And then their rage will be really explosive as well. And so it may be that like everything's good until it's not. And the precursor to that is, again, like I said at the very bottom, it can be a little bit of passive aggressiveness and a lot of like road blocking of just like, I don't know, I don't care, or like moving really slowly when you're getting out the door to go somewhere that they really don't want to go. So it takes a long time for one that runs the enduring pattern to really pop their top. It's like, I think of those moms where it's like, maybe they have like 4 kids with them. They're all screaming. And she's literally, I've seen this before. And I want to like go tap their shoulder and be like, How are you doing this? They're literally standing there and they're just like flipping through a magazine, or they're just like on their phone, which I guess could be leaving pattern as well. But a lot of times, like they're just enduring it. They're just like, yep. And then the moment that it does become too much, when the internal anger and rage become too much, that's usually what creates the explosion. It's not something that someone did. It's the boiled over self-hatred and self-shame. Okay, so aggressive, just as you would imagine, it's explosive. The energy is everywhere, but it's like not leaving everywhere. It's like everywhere. And it's a fireball. So it's not well targeted, but it would like take up a room. Okay. So if you think of like leaving takes up the ceiling, aggressive would like carry out the whole room. And it's up and out. And it is often aimed straight at your beingness and like all around you. So you can almost like full force, like they're on fire and you feel on fire too. So it's very like all consuming for the person that's receiving it. And then rigid, again, is up and out, but it's like just kind of pointed straight up or pointed straight at the person. So more directed, more dart-like, dagger-like, and they're going to make a legal case. Like, well, I told you to warm the bottle up and that they were supposed to be up by 3 p.m. So the reason why she's screaming right now is because it's 3:30 and she's hungry. So the fact that I've already told you this 3 times this week makes me think that like you're not even listening to me. Like it's really ridiculous. And so they picked somebody apart. It's very self-righteous, very like, like this isn't hard for me. Why is it hard for you? So hopefully that is very helpful. And then, bringing this more home to like, again, we've said this over and over and over again, like, what do you need? What do you need in any of these patterns, no matter what that you run, whether it's enduring pattern, rigid pattern, aggressive, you need your body, not you as in your mind, but you as in your body, you just need to feel safe. And so when you flip this perspective of like, it's not that I need you to do the thing that I asked you to do. I need you to feel safe, or I need to feel safe that you are going to follow through on what you're going to do. Or I need to feel safe that even if you don't do that thing, everything's going to fall apart. So a lot of the safety, we get to turn the mirror around at us instead of being like, y'all aren't doing anything. Y'all are creating this pattern for me, reflecting that back in of like, is it okay for me to just be present with sensation? Can it feel safe to feel this tightness in my jaw? Does it feel safe to feel this like burning in my belly? So can you learn through sensation, through somatic practices, to be able to not only notice those sensations, but be able to turn up the volume, turn down the volume? So it's really helpful because a lot of these practices that you'll learn, or a lot of like, the therapeutic things that you may have already experienced with someone that's supported you in the past, or reading a book or listening to a podcast, is that like you get to have more awarenesses to where maybe you shift that down from an 8 to a 6, but that's all you need to like keep your composure and show up as the parent and the partner that you want to be. Because at an 8 or a 9, you're not clear-headed. But if you're able to accept more of the sensations in your body and turn down the volume a little bit, or remind yourself that the volume of 6 is safe to be with, then you don't project that lack of safety out to others. Another component of safety is the belief. So like getting to the root, I've talked about this a little bit, getting to the root of limiting beliefs and learned behaviors. So like if we were to go with the rigid pattern, getting to the root of that, a house that is unkept is not a safe place to be. It is not safe for Amanda to be in this house. For me to feel safe, I need all of the dishes to be done. I need the counters to be cleaned off. I need this. Where did I learn that from? Who modeled that to me? So feeling safer in getting to those limiting beliefs and the roots of those beliefs, it starts with first the sensation that creates the capacity for you to be with some of those deeper layers of the beliefs, and then goes to the connection. So can you connect with that inner child that experienced these root behaviors, these modeled behaviors? Can you be with her, give her what she needed, and be the parent that you needed? And so that is where this like slowly starts to shift to where you can be in a messy house. You can walk in after a day of work and like everything is kind of awry, and you can be like, yep, I feel this burning in my shoulders right now. And it is from the fact that all of this is out and I feel like I don't have enough time. But I do have enough time, little Amanda. we have enough time. The kids are going to take their baths and their showers tonight. And from 7 to 8, after their baths, everybody's going to clean up with me. Cool. We got this. Let's go get dinner ready. So those are the shifts. It's not something that you can cognitively grind through. It is a somatic shift within your body that you get to let go of this programming and reprogram the cellular memory of your mind and your body. So safety is what you need. Do we have time? We have time. I would love to do a case study if anybody is open to this of when was the last time you remember being in this pattern or being triggered? What shade of stress of the pattern were you running? So what were the shadows that you were believing? What was the behavior? Do you remember where you felt the energy? And do you now realize what you needed? And so if you guys want to write that down, I would love for you to take about 2 or 3 minutes to write that down. Or if somebody just wants to come off of mute and we can go through this case study together, I'm more than happy to do that. Because this is where the learning happens. This is where we start to make the shifts. And this is basically some free coaching. Also, I had to learn that there was safety in silence. So I can hang out here for a minute. You know what else I'll do too? If you guys have this written down, when was the last time you remember being triggered or in your pattern? What shade of stress or pattern were you running? Where did you feel the energy? What did you really need? I'm actually going to. Can I pause? I think if I start the recording and stop it, it's going to start over. So I was going to pause the recording in case somebody wanted anonymity. But who wants to share? All safe here. Where did my chat go? My chat disappeared.
I can share.
No, there it goes. Okay, Katie. I was trying to listen to a podcast today in the car, and the kids were just screaming and fighting, and the middle child couldn't get buckled, and I just slammed the brakes on and got angry. Got it. Okay. Okay. Amy, I'm just now seeing yours. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's go with Katie's for just a second. So it could have been, this is another thing that I want to notice too, is that you may not be aware of the pattern that comes online when you get triggered. Okay. And it doesn't necessarily matter in the moment. It can be something that you retroactively notice. Okay. So for instance, what can you remember? What was going on in your mind as you're listening, and then you're hearing them, and then you're listening, and then you're hearing them, and then you're like, oh, they didn't get they're not getting buckled in. What was that? Was there a like a dialogue in your head that you can remember? Okay. Yeah. So I can't do anything for myself. You guys are so Like I literally have done swim lessons for you guys this week. We're going on a vacation next week, or we just got back from a vacation. I just took you guys to McDonald's, and like you can't even be quiet for 5 minutes while I listen to the rest of this podcast. Okay, so listening to that, very merging. In fact, there's a flavor of merging compensated, which is not something that we necessarily covered in a lot of depth, but it's merging compensated is more of that like savior martyr. I do so much for you. I give, and like that's my meaning of life, is to give to others. And I'm such a gift. And so that is where, okay, our merging patterns coming in. I have done everything for the kids, and now this is what I need from them, and I'm not getting it. Okay. So the shade of stress of like transactional, I'm giving to connect with y'all, and you aren't connecting with my need to listen to this podcast. So you stated earlier that you felt it in your shoulders. Yeah, energy in your shoulders, tension, and slamming the door. So that's like the external, that's the movement. So like that's when we are expressing anger, when we're getting triggered, that's our body's way of like, this has got to move or something's going to happen. And so the way that we stomp our feet, the way that we yell, the way that we throw something, the way that we make contact with something, the way that we breathe, that's all an effort to move that energy as a way to of self-preservation. And so you said and so what did you really need in that moment? What did little Katie need in that moment? And this is a really important part, especially for the parents out there. Or what did you feel like you needed, Katie, in that moment? I needed to listen to my damn podcast. That's what I need to listen to. I needed quiet. I needed to be alone. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So this is a huge take home, especially for moms. Katie was in the car with her kids, and she needed to be alone. She needed it to be quiet. She needed to listen to her podcast. Okay. Those three things in that moment as mom with the kids in the car were not possible, correct? Everybody's nodding. Yes, they were not. Okay. So this is what you get to do as moms, as soon to be moms, as just people that are in situations where you know that in that situation, you're not going to get what you need. What you do is you turn that anger and that frustration around and give grace. And you say, yep, Katie, you do want that right now. And you can't have that. And I'm so sorry that you can't have that right now. Let's take a deep breath. There's going to be time later tonight when the kids are down and they're sleeping. And why don't we go on the back porch and you can listen to the rest of that podcast? How about that? That is that, like, that's the start of that reparenting. That's the start of like, you want something, your inner child wants something. And instead of lashing out, I can't get what I want. Oh, God, this sucks. You, oh, yeah, like self-compassion. Take a deep breath. Yep, I'm not going to get that right now. And that sucks. And there are a lot of other somatic things that you can do to move energy besides slamming a car door. And I can go into those in the future. But that is kind of what we talk about because for a lot of you guys, this is going to be a consistent reverse engineering. This is going to be something happens, the shit hits the fan, you don't show up the way that you want to, and then you've got to look backwards to then go forwards. Okay. So let's go into your example, Amy. Triggered yesterday at work. Don't know what the pattern is. You were screaming at your computer. Felt in your stomach. I needed to be trusted. Okay, so what was the situation at work that you were triggered about, like high level? And you can come off mute if you want, if that's easier than typing. But we haven't necessarily identified the pattern, but you were triggered yesterday at work and you were screaming at your computer. Again, notice screaming at your computer, that's the way that the energy moved. Doesn't necessarily mean that she's aggressive pattern, but that's the way that the energy felt the less resistance to, or the least resistance to move. And it came from your stomach. I
My
needed to be
boss
trusted.
pinged
I'm
me
very
to
interested. Yeah. What was the situation at work, if you can share?
My boss pinged me to take
And
a
while you're
ticket.
typing that, I'm going to go into Lauren's really quick. The last time I was solo parenting, husband on a long work trip, bless you. And I couldn't handle all the things. Running somewhere between rigid and aggressive. I felt the energy in my head, damn, headache and dizzy. Yep. Oh, oh no. Can I not hear you?
I don't think so.
Oh
That's
my
okay.
gosh. Marla, bless your heart. I just turned you guys on. I turned y'all on, ladies. Are you excited about that? Okay, sorry. I had my when the music, like when we came on for the original like opening of the call, I silenced the music so I didn't hear y'all. Amy, have
Um,
you been talking this whole time?
I talked a little bit, but I
Oh my
just said
gosh.
that my
Say,
boss pinged me to take a ticket.
mm-hmm,
And like at work, like we work these tickets and we solve them all day, like ticket,
mm-hmm,
ticket, ticket. And we
mm-hmm.
look at the queue and we take them and I work really hard. So I always get really frustrated when he pings me. It makes me feel like um he thinks I'm not working hard enough. And
Got it.
but I do know that it's his pattern and he does it with everybody. But for some reason, even though I know that, I cannot deal with it. And there are some days like it scares my dogs. They run and they hide because I mean I scream
Yeah.
and I threw my mouse at my monitor yesterday. I
Yeah.
just was I mean it was raging. I don't know. I
Yeah.
was so mad and I was just like, leave me the f alone. I just screamed at him. And he
Yeah.
can't hear me or anything. And I even typed something to him in all caps and then I deleted it. And I mean I'm
Good
not
job.
going to send it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that's a movement of energy. Screaming at your computer, throwing the mouse,
Mm.
doing some typing. So this to me, the first thing that lands with me, again, it could be other patterns. What lands with me is the pinging is the force, is the thrust of do it now. And if you have somebody that doesn't like to be, ugh, do that now, that's an enduring
Mm.
pattern. So that's a pattern of like, I'm sitting here, I'm doing my stuff. If he would have sent you a message that was something like, hey, hope you're doing okay. I wonder if you saw the messages coming through that we need to take care of this ticket. Can you take care of that for me?
I'd
How
love
that
that.
Yeah. So again, there's the sprinkling of the compliment on the outside, and there's the offering of, can you do this? Have you seen this? Instead of the like, do this now. Have you seen this? Come on. Like it's the more of the dagger type, maybe the rigid is his pattern, that he is activating your enduring pattern of like I'm doing everything that I need to be doing. I don't need to be bossed around. Like I'm good, right? And so you said you felt it in your stomach. I love that you had that orientation to the sensation in your body. And yeah, what you needed is to be trusted, right? So in that, the inner child is, I need to be trusted. Like, why can't you trust me? And so if someone outwardly not trusting, it doesn't feel as though they're trusting you, you get to also notice, where did Amy not feel trusted as a little girl? And was that like an energy from mom? Was that an energy from dad? And where is that belief and that storyline being played out at work? Maybe he's literally just like, dude, Amy's always on it. I'm going to ping her because I know she's the fastest at doing this. But your lens of wounding, your limiting belief of that others don't trust me, I can't do it right, is now being, again, projected back onto him. And so now you're responding in a way that may not really have any sort of like, not that it doesn't have merit, but it doesn't resonate with what he's actually trying to share with you. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I just smile at like what I show on the outside would be sure, thumbs up. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. But then on
but
the
I'm
inside,
raging.
stuff it down. Yeah. Stuff it down. Keep it blocked down. Yeah. Notice. And you also said that you felt it in your stomach. So like that being something that Katie felt that more on her shoulders. You felt that more in her stomach. So just noticing those things. Okay, Lauren, let's go back to you. Again, thank you, Merlo, for telling me that I couldn't hear anybody. Oh, Lord. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, so Lauren, back to yours. The last time I was solo parenting, husband on a long work trip, you could not handle all the things. Running somewhere between rigid and aggressive, I felt the energy in my head, headache and dizziness, and I needed safety and support and feeling I was competent to handle the situation solo parenting. Okay. So if you resonate with the rigid or the aggressive pattern, the rigid, if we just go with that, I've got to figure it all out. It's all up to me. There's a right and a wrong. So a lot of thinking, a lot of cognitive space, like, oh, like I'm using a lot of energy in this portion of my body. So a lot of this stuff that whether it's stomach pain or shoulder pain or back pain or a headache will show up in the way in where the pattern's energy is living. And so, yeah, oh goodness, it makes total sense that you were having a headache and felt dizzy. And so, yes, what you needed was to feel competent, probably not by your partner, but you needed to remind yourself that you were not only competent, but it was okay that it didn't get all done or didn't get it done in like the fastest way possible or the best way. And so again, just like I kind of took Amy through is like, where did little Lauren learn that she had to do it all? That it had to be right, it had to be done well, or there was going to be punishment or people were going to think badly of you, and get to reparent those parts and be able to let little Lauren feel what all she felt about that long ago. And then from clearing that, you get to experience this expansiveness where you're like, yep, there's a lot to do. And I'm solo parenting. And you know what? I have enough time and it's all going to get done or it's all not going to get done. But I know that I'm doing the best that I can. And it's not just you, again, grinding out, yeah, I am the best parent. I'm such a good mom. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my partner. It's not the cognitive this, because that's what creates that further dizziness and headache of like, I'm just going to grit my teeth and I'm just going to think my way through this, right? So, awesome real life examples. Thank you for that. I'm glad I got to read those and hear your voices. Okay, so this kind of comes to the end close to, and I'm so proud of myself that it's early, but we also have lots of time if you guys want to continue to um, share and talk about this. So what's next for you all? What's next for you all? It's to start to integrate this stuff. A lot of you may have really new awarenesses to this. You may be like, my next step is going out and getting this book, writing it or writing all over it, marking it up, integrating the information, listening to the audiobook, and like starting to have conversations with my partner or start journaling on the things that are coming up for me. That may be your next step. You may be someone that wants to start looking into how do I move more of this energy prior to throwing the mouse, yelling, slamming the car door. Maybe you want to learn some somatic practices like breath work, either individually or in a group, where you are continually basically doing maintenance on your system so that when all of that energy hits your system, it doesn't go into overwhelm, that you have a lot of space to hold it and then time to integrate it later or time to move it in a more grounded way later. I also have pre-recorded meditation and breathwork recordings where if you can't meet group times that I have on Tuesdays in person in Midtown or Sundays, that you're like, I need a plethora of pre-recorded meditations that I can just start listening whenever. These are meditations that deal with safety. So they're very grounding, down regulating, also helpful for those that run the leaving pattern. There's one on expressing anger and frustration. There's one on connecting to your inner child. And then there's three others that basically take you through a series of trusting your intuition, honoring what's coming up for you. And basically you can use those in combination or as standalone recording. So that may be something that you're like, ooh, I want to start learning more about this, but I want to have this tool that's readily available to me. I also do somatic and inner child coaching. I'm currently full for one-on-one clients, but the big thing that I wanted to also gift you all with in coming to this call live is information on the women's fall group that I'm starting September 1st. So I thought that I would never do group programs. I thought that I would just do one-on-one programs forever. And I was just going to be good with that because I was like, this is something that I am good with. I like the one-on-one, I like the deep work. And the last couple months, I've just had so many women just like yourselves come and give these offerings of like, I don't know what to do in this situation, or like, I keep bumping up against this. And it basically came online for these three pillars of how I could support a small group of women in shifting the narrative of what energy is showing up in their body and how they're processing that energy and how they're showing up as moms and as partners. And so this is and I don't know that I'll ever do this again. We'll have to see how it goes, but it is a 10-week weekly group, and it starts September 1st. I'm only having 6 spots because I do still want it to be intimate. I want this to be something where group healing very much can accelerate people's healing. So it's something that it can be very, very powerful as well. But what I love about this is that we're going to do 2 weeks on each of these three pillars. So we're going to go through a very exhaustive, in-depth, like nervous system support. What is your nervous system? How does it respond to stress? Even more so than what we talked about here. All of kind of that nitty gritty. And we're going to have 2 weeks on that. And then we're going to pause on the group call for that third week. And you're going to get a 90-minute one-on-one call with me. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into a healing session where you get to get unique support into supporting your inner child and what they experience with mom and dad. So you can start clearing out these limiting beliefs. And then the next 2 weeks, the next section goes into the second pillar, which is somatic inner child healing. And so we will go into more of like the mother and father learning, mom representing self, and dad representing others and the world. And so again, we'll meet for 2 weeks as a group. And then you'll have a third week where you'll get another 90-minute session just with myself. And then the third pillar we'll spend 2 weeks on is feminine and masculine embodiment. This has been something that has come online super important because a lot of us women are in more of our masculine, and yet we are struggling with parts of our feminine wanting to come online. So like we're in our masculine all the time. We're killing it at work. We're killing it at home. And yet we feel really disconnected and in our masculine with our partner. And so we feel like you're kind of bumping up against these two different energies. And so it's getting really, really curious and really, really informative about what actually is feminine energy and what is masculine energy, and how can you leverage both of those within yourself? Because we both have feminine, or we have both feminine and masculine energies within all of us. Both males do and females, whatever you subscribe to. And so we'll spend 2 weeks on that. And then we will do a third on your own or like one-on-one with me support call. So you'll get 3 90-minute calls with me, which in and of itself could be like half of this investment. And I wanted this to be something that was accessible to women because a lot of women can't pay for one-on-one support with me. And a lot of people may be a little bit afraid to do it alone. And so this, for you all that are on this call, this $1,500 investment will stand. I'll have my early bird rate end for everyone else, and then I will keep y'all's names, and this investment will stand to you until the group is full. And so if it's like a week before and you're still on the fence or you're waiting out to see if there's still spots available, and there is potentially one, then you would get this rate at 1,500. Everyone else will be able to only get it at an increased rate unless they take advantage of the early bird rate, which will be $1,500. And if you need to split that up, there's obviously payment plans too. So we literally have 19 minutes left. So I am going to first thank all of everybody that's checking out the recording. We did have some moms, moms can be momming. So there were a lot of moms where stuff came up this evening. And so I am going to thank you guys for checking out the recording. I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to stop the recording. My button, where did you go? I swear Zoom changes their buttons like every other month. Stop recording.